This content is the property of Put It Out There TV, also known as PIOT TV, a property of the House of Yasha Allah El Trust. If you are viewing and or listening to this content on a non-PIOT TV branded platform, then we kindly ask that you stop and flag this content for copyright infringement. Thank you.
Peace and love, Moors. What's going on with you? This is your brother Judah Son for Put It Out There. Appreciate you allowing me to take up so much of your very valuable time. I guess you could call this a reaction video. You can see what the title of this video is. Something along the lines about the elder Taj Tarik Bey being socially ambushed by Moors. And that's, of course, me asking a question. I want to know what your opinion is. But before we actually pull this video up and watch this video, I want to give you my opinion. I took some notes. First of all, I feel as if, in my opinion, I feel that Taj was socially ambushed, put into a pseudo debate / kind of argument, battle of wits type of thing, like Taj was being checked, it's like Moors was sitting Taj down to try to check him or something. Also, what I wanted to say, outside of the fact that I really didn't like how that was set up. I didn't like how that looked. You know, you have men sitting down, eating food, and they're surrounded by other Moors, and people have cameras on them. And see, if Taj wasn't a beloved Moor, as he is, due to the work that he's done, there would be nobody in his face with multiple cameras and from different angles and positions in his face while he's eating, which furthermore to me makes this look like it's a setup. Like, what event were y'all expecting to happen for all these cameras to be put on Taj Tarik Bey? See, because there's a lot of Moors in the temple that love Taj. They respect Taj's work, and they know what Taj is talking about is valid a lot of the time. Not to say that he can't be incorrect. I also dare to say that if it wasn't for Taj Tarik Bey, a lot of these temples probably would not be alive with membership. If it wasn't for Taj Tarik Bey, a lot of Moors would have never even heard of Noble Drew Ali, heard of the Moorish Science Temple, would not even be members of the Moorish Science Temple. You want to know why? Because Taj never told Moors not to be members of the temple. He was actually saying be proactive about going. Which leads me on to also say that it took 100+ years, or at least 80+, 70+, maybe 80+ years from the time that Noble Drew Ali passed for me to ever even hear of Noble Drew Ali, because of work that I found of Taj Tarik Bey's that was being put in on the internet. It was almost 100 years. Yeah, it was almost 100 years before I had even heard of the Moorish Science Temple of America or Noble Drew Ali, which means that with all of this, people saying that they're in line with the temple and or with the prophet, my question is, why has it taken 100 years, damn near, for many Moors across North, South, Central America and the adjoining islands to hear about Noble Drew Ali and his magnificent works and the Moorish Science Temple of America? Why aren't members, Grand Sheiks, chairmen of the Moorish Science Temple of America coming out and speaking towards the Negro issue which is still an issue, which is an issue that we know for a fact that Noble Drew Ali addressed in his time. He addressed the Negro issue. So essentially what I'm saying is, for almost the last 100 years, you Moors who have been in position with the Moorish Science Temple of America, which in essence is the foundation of the Moorish movement, right? Which in essence is the foundation of the Moorish movement. You've allowed this to sit still dead in the water for 100 years. All right. That's what you did. You allowed this to sit dead in the water for 100 years. And you can't speak because of your tax status, your 501c3. So you no longer can address the Negro issue. You no longer can go out and speak to the plight of the so-called Negro. But let me go ahead and pull up this video, and then we'll come back. And I also would like to know what you Moors think, depending on where you're viewing this at, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, or the actual Put It Out There TV official website. Leave a comment. All right. So let's pull this video up. All right.
First time you and I met? 1996. At the place that you all used to hold, I think you still do, hold lectures in Camden, New Jersey. Yes, sir. No. Oh, okay. That was the first time I met this brother. 96.
See, his brother's the one to watch for. You can tell right here, looking at his spirit, immediately that he has an issue with Taj. You can see he's even saying this is not even the conversation. That's not even what I'm trying to talk about. You see what I'm saying? He's trying to control the conversation. But at the end of the day, what he's letting you know is this brother's conversation, in my honest opinion from observation, this brother's conversation here is just icebreaker, because they've already planned this. This is already planned. Some of these Moors, I myself, one of these Moors, I myself have seen on social media speaking out against Taj Tarik Bey, what he teaches, how he teaches. He's actually in this photo. All right. He's actually in this still on here. I won't point him out, but it looks like in this video, he admires Taj Tarik Bey. At some point in time, when you watch this video, it looks as if he actually admires Taj Tarik Bey. And I think that's really part of the issue. Let's go.
That's our first time.
Let's go back. Look at this brother. That's a whole different conversation.
That's exactly what it is. That's our first time. That's exactly what it was. And make no mistake. In the mid to late 90s, this brother's, he could bear witness. In the mid to late 90s, this brother's civic lesson series from the round table was like crap to us. Right? But the reason it was is because it was in the absence, among other things, there was nothing else.
You see? Now, this is a member of the Moorish Science Temple. I believe this is a Grand Sheikh of the Moorish Science Temple, right? He said Taj Tarik Bey's Moors Order of the Round Table civic works that he was putting out was like crack to Moors because it was an absence. There was nothing else. Now, I know why he said absence. It's a twofold. One, because there was nobody putting any information out there for Moors. First of all, almost 100 years had passed. Nobody out there was putting information out there for the Moors who did not know they were Moors, except for Taj Tarik Bey. The second reason why he said there was nothing else, so he's saying this is all we had, so this is all we gravitated to. Basically saying when we found what we were supposed to have, then we knew that this didn't hold much weight. At least that's what I get from what he's saying, right? But the thing is, and not to invalidate that, but what I want to drive home is that almost 100 years had passed and Taj Tarik Bey was the one putting the information out there for Moors. Taj Tarik Bey was a part of what? The prophecy, fulfilling the prophecy of Noble Drew Ali, with Moors going into the temple having knowledge already, but being run out, of course. Let's continue.
Right? We weren't getting anything, remember? I'm good, sister.
You go, son.
Remember what I was just saying? Remember what I was just saying? With the resurgence of the Moorish movement, especially on the East Coast, almost all of our information about the movement did not come from the temple. You see what I'm saying?
Do you see what I'm saying? So the whole time, the temple was set up to resolve the Negro issue, right? It's set up to resolve the Negro issue, but there's no information coming out of the temple to those who are branded Negro, Black, Colored, African American up under the 14th Amendment, suffering Negro issues, not seeing justice, not being considered a part of the human family, undesirables who lack a national decent name, thus being undesirables and subject to whatever the treatments the true citizens may want to lay upon them. So knowing that they had this information, I also go on to further say, maybe if y'all was doing your job, Taj Tarik Bey wouldn't have had to been out here allegedly misinforming people, while your people were out here dealing with the Negro issues, and y'all have the saving power. Noble Drew Ali said, I brought you everything that you need to save yourselves, to save a nation, but y'all sat on your hands while we still were dealing with Roman expansion issues, the Negro issue, colonization issues. Let's go.
So that's why I was saying to the brother, about what I wanted to show with the book. We didn't know what we was looking at. See, you was over in the Midwest. You came up with it, you know what I mean? We didn't know what we were looking at. So we came to the temple from the outside. We said, man, this is church. This ain't no science. We didn't know what we was looking at. You see what I'm saying? We didn't know. So now, one of the things, brother, that I wanted to speak to you about, because of course, we're family. Let's put it on the table, right? So there's especially now with consulate issues, with all this other stuff, right? You ain't in the consulate, you in the consulate. Yeah. Now let me go what it is. Now all of you, this footage, I'm not sure how my memory put the nationality card on the table and ask any one of these men what that instrument is. What is its category? As an example, put the nationality card on the table.
Now, Taj asked a simple question, because what Noble Drew Ali brought to Moors in America, what he brought to Moors was much deeper than just the Moorish Science Temple. And this is not to take anything from the Moorish Science Temple, because the Moorish Science Temple is supposed to be a foundation, right? He's asking them what type of document, what category is the nationality card. Because no matter what you say about the Moorish Science Temple being a religious corporation or organization or whatever the case may be, you cannot get away from the national and the divine. National deals with law, civics, government, commerce, treaties, contracts. The divine is what the Moorish Science Temple is. It's twofold. So that nationality card is an affidavit, an international document at law. Let's go.
Hold on. It's metaphorical. Let's get out. Because we want to deal with Prophet Noble Buhari, Moorish Science Temple of America. Prophet Noble Buhari. Hold on. Prophets say don't do that. That's something you want. We stick with the prophet.
Now, this brother right here, right? He was getting ready to pull the nationality card out because he was open-minded to the lesson. He was open-minded to the lesson. This brother right here wasn't open-minded to the lesson. See, what you got to understand is these are all three grand sheiks. You got to be open to the lesson because masters can teach other masters. And this brother wasn't open whatsoever at all. He already had his mind set. But I tell you again, within the temple, there are lots and lots and lots and lots of Moors who admire Taj Tarik Bey. Let me tell you that right now. It's lots of Moors that admire Taj Tarik Bey's demonstration. They study the information that he puts out. They apply the information. I know some of these Moors in the temple that apply this information. I know some of them personally. Right? Even when I first went to the Moorish Science Temple, and I didn't get a chance to become a member, and I still would actually like to. I have nothing against the temple. I still would love to be a member of the Moorish Science Temple of America. But I made sure that when I first went to the temple back in 2010, maybe 2011, my very first time stepping into a temple, I made sure to tell them that I was told to come here by Grand Sheikh Taj Tarik Bey. And then as they're going through certain things, they read Prophet's warning, some other things. There's some things that they were reading that, from what I was advised by Taj's teachings, that all temples are supposed to read before every meeting. And if they're not reading that before the meeting, you might be in the wrong temple. In this temple that I was in, they read it. And I even, after the meeting, because it was a Sunday school day, I said, you know what? Taj Tarik Bey specifically said that, you're in the right place if they're reading this before the meetings. And they had the nerve, the audacity to act like they didn't know who Taj Tarik Bey was. I was still a little wet behind the ears, but in retrospect, when I look back at it, they know exactly who Taj Tarik Bey was and is, because he had been doing work and putting in work since the 80s, 90s up until now with his information. So they knew who he was within the Moorish community. Plus, he's a member, or he was. I don't know if he is now. Yeah, I think Taj is a member of Grand Sheikh of the Moorish Science Temple. Yeah. So let's go.
So now, that's what we want to get to. We want to get the essence of this. Because people seem to be misinformed. They are misinformed. Hold on. Well, we got to find out where the misinformation is coming from. Because I'm a Grand Sheikh in the middle. a young grad teacher in the Midwest. You known in the Midwest. You known in the East. You don't know.
You see, you known in the Midwest. You known in the East. You see, that's the problem. That's the problem, because a lot of these grand sheiks they want to be loved like Taj Tarik Bey. See, what they have to comprehend is there are Moors all across Northwest, Southwest, Central, Maxim, the adjoining islands in the world that will put their lives on the line for Taj Tarik Bey. See, so not only is this jealousy, not to say these specific grand sheiks here, not only does Taj Tarik Bey have to deal with jealousy, but he has to deal with a lack of understanding by his own brothers and sisters due to that jealousy. Not even being open-minded. I don't even know if that's the term that I want to use. Let's go. Misinformation.
Because you try to tie historical information in with that other Moorish science temple America. Moorish science temple America stand alone.
Now listen to that. He said you tried to tie in historical information with the Moorish Science Temple of America. So, again, the Grand Sheik here, the Midwest Grand Sheik here, was saying how Taj Tarik Bey is tying in history with the Moorish Science Temple. Let's go back and play what he said so we can get this right specifically. Hold on here.
A young grad teacher in the Midwest. You known in the Midwest. You known in the East. You don't know. Based upon misinformation. Based upon misinformation. Because you try to tie historical information in with that other Moorish science temple.
So based on misinformation, you try to tie in historical information with that of the Moorish Science Temple. Now, that is a conundrum, first of all. And what I would have to challenge these particular Moors who say these things is, first of all, you're going to have to specify what is the misinformation specifically. See, you always want to get Taj in a position to where he has to be specific, yet you can't be specific. Let's be specific point by point so that these things can be addressed point by point, because obviously you want to debate. Obviously you have an argument, you have a problem, there's a controversy. So let's address it point by point in writing or in a better format, for instance. Everything that you have an issue with can be written down in a format, done in an orderly fashion, so that you don't have to, in a sense, what it appears to be socially ambushing your brother, right? So that way these points can be addressed timely in the right settings at the end of the day. So everything can be addressed properly, so each point can be addressed so that we can really see where the misinformation is. Now, what happens is you have a bunch of Moors who've written blogs and articles, and they've done blogs and things of this nature about what Taj Tarik Bey is doing, who's a member of the Moorish Science Temple, right? But they're not following protocol. Where are the writings? Let me see here. Give me a second. Because I know within the Moorish Science Temple, there is some protocol to where if there's a complaint with the brother, that you have to send the complaint to him and things of this nature. But we'll get into that. But anyway, so the brother said you're tying in history with the Moorish Science Temple. So let's go here. Now this is divine warning by the prophet for the nation. The prophet makes plea to the nations. Okay, divine warning by the prophet for the nations. This is what it is. And this is a piece of it. It says, and at that time, 1865, sounds like history to me, the free national constitutional law that was enforced since 1774 declared all men equal and free. And if all men are declared by the free national constitution to be free and equal, since that constitution has never been changed, there is no need for the application of the 14th and 15th Amendments for the salvation of our people and citizens. So right there, that's Noble Drew Ali speaking about law, the constitutional principles of citizenship. All right. He's speaking about history. He's mentioned 1865 AD Roman calendar year. He's mentioned 1774 AD Roman calendar year, right? So he's mentioned history. He's talking history here because this deals with being a Moor in America. And this Grand Sheik here from the so-called Midwest said that being a member of the Moorish Science Temple is separate or different from being a Moor in America. This is what he said. Now, who's correct? The prophet or this guy? Now, and then we got to go in because there's a question that this other Moor is going to ask towards the end. He says, and at that time, 1865, the free constitutional law that was enforced since 1774 declared all men equal and free. So Noble Drew Ali, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, was aware of the different, how do I want to say? He was aware, he was aware of the different applicabilities of law within certain time frames. So he knew when they were enforcing a certain body of law. So he knew what body of law was supposed to be enforced. He knew what body of law was actually. We'll get into that. We'll get into that further later on. I don't want to cause too much confusion. Let's go.
Moorish Science Temple America is stand-alone. Prophet Noble Drew Ali is the founder of the Moorish Science Temple America, not the founder of Moorish. So what some people are doing, they're trying to cross that borderline back and forth. They're taking Moorish Science Temple America along with being a Moor in America, and that's something entirely different.
All right. Now, this Grand Sheik said, being a member of the Moorish Science Temple is different from being a Moor in America. All right. And let me see. Let's see what Noble Drew Ali say. All right. Let's see what Noble Drew Ali says. All right. This is also from Divine Warning by the Prophet for the Nations. It says, I, the prophet, was prepared by the great God Allah to warn my people to repent from their sinful ways and go back to that state of mind of their forefathers, divine and national principles, that they will be law abiders and receive their divine rights as citizens according to the free national constitution that was prepared for all free national beings. Okay, they are to claim their free national name and religion. There is but one issue for them to be recognized by this government and by the nations of the earth, and it comes only through the connection of the Moorish divine national movement, which is incorporated in this government and recognized by all other nations of the world. So, in fact, being a member of the Moorish Science Temple has everything to do with being a Moor in America, because the Moors in America who are not members of the Moorish Science Temple still should be members of the Moorish Science Temple. It's just as simple as that. They should have foundation in the Moorish Science Temple. And trust me, plenty of us would have loved to come there and gotten our foundation. But see, due to the 501c3 tax issue, right? The social and political issues of the Negro cannot be addressed. We'll get into that further on in this. Let's go. Let's continue. But we've proven this wrong. Being a member of the Moorish Science Temple of America has everything to do with being a Moor in America. And through it, right? And through it, they and their children can receive their divine rights unmolested by other citizens, that they can cast a free national ballot at the polls under the free national constitution of the state's government, and not under a granted privilege as has been the existing condition for many generations. What granted privilege is that? It's the 14th Amendment. Okay? Being a Moor in the Moorish Science Temple of America is not separate from being a Moor in America. That is a lie. Let's go.
Yeah, so therefore, here it is, the Moorish Science Temple of America is getting misrepresented in that whole brand.
And right, the Moorish Science Temple is being misrepresented. It is being misrepresented. And just to be fair and balanced, I dare say it's being misrepresented on both sides. Just to be fair and balanced. How about it hasn't been represented at all in the last 100 years? How about that? It hasn't been represented at all in the last 100 years.
So let's address it. This is the deal. Notice what I always say. The hand has not been told if I told you everything you go back to sleep. There are some that deal with what they perceive as the hand.
But you said nobody always said what?
The half has not been told. If I told you everything, you would go back to sleep.
What did he say that? So everybody can be on the same page.
Listen, I'm trying to set a foundation. If you're looking for understanding, you gotta listen.
Now, this is a Grand Sheik. You see how he's wanting. You see how this Grand Sheik is playing games right here. This dude is playing games. I'm not even about to tiptoe. He's playing games. You see, he wants Taj to be specific about what he's going into. You know where the prophet said this at, dude. Stop playing. You know what literature the prophet said this in. You're a Grand Sheik. Stop playing. You know where this was said, when it was said, how it was said. You know who said it. Stop it. He's playing games. He's playing games, this dude. He's playing games. See, he just has an issue with Taj. Let's go.
I'm telling you, if you will listen, come on with it. What you discover, if you come into the temple, right? Say anybody come into the temple, you have perceptions, what you see. Then you go to Wednesday, Muslim class, and you graduate. Some of you are born with it, but some of you have to be taught. And so you're tested. And you may go into attitude. You're not arguing with people. but you're not in kindergarten anymore.
Hold on. Let's stay focused, because I don't want to get over there. Hold on.
Yeah. Look, you see this boy's face right here? He know Taj just dug in my man all day. Now, while that's paused, let me find something. All right. Okay, so this is where we're at. Violations, charges, and accusations. All right. Violations, charges, and accusations. Let me show you how this is really supposed to be handled right here with these Moors, specifically this Moor here, having an issue with Taj being a member of the Moorish Science Temple of America, right? This is from the book Administrative Functions, Moorish Divine and National Movement, Moorish Holy Temple of Science, Moorish Science Temple of America. And this basically tells you how administrative functions are supposed to be carried out in the temple. See, they don't like that Taj has released this information. Violations, charges, and accusations. Any sister or brother in violation of the divine constitution of the Moorish nation of North America, or who violates these bylaws, will receive due process according to the supreme law of the land. When these principles are violated, justice must take its course. Remember, your laws are for the safeguards of private property rights and for the nation as a whole, we the people. So, due process. Let's look at due process. Let's see if Taj has been given due process after all these years. Give me 1 second here. Right. Okay. Due process. So, says here, any sister or brother in violation of the divine constitution of the Moorish nation of North America, or who violates these bylaws, will receive due process according to the supreme law of the land. When these principles are violated, justice must take its course. Remember, your laws are for the safeguards of private property rights and for the nation. All right. So it says here, they will receive due process. So if they've been violated and accused of anything, it says in all criminal prosecutions, this is the Sixth Amendment of the American Constitution. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation, to be confronted with the witnesses against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have the assistance of counsel for his defense. So essentially what's going on in this video is that Taj is being put on trial. Taj is being put on trial. This is what's happening. So it says here, Let's read further. It says a violation is the act of violating or the state of being violated. It means to break or infringe as a law or an agreement, to do violence, to treat irreverently, to grossly offend, etc. A charge is to accuse or to impute something to, establishing a liability, thus a responsibility for restitution, atonement, and or chastisement, etc. It goes on further to say, charges may be brought against any member or officer of the temple in accord with Moorish law if there is proof with witness of violation of the Moorish constitution or bylaws. I'll read that again. Charges may be brought against any member or officer of the temple in accord with Moorish law if there is proof with witness of violation of the Moorish constitution or bylaws. All right. So if Taj is violating anything of the prophet, the law, the bylaws, the constitution, charges may be brought against him. An accusation is an act of accusing, an allegation, etc. And in law, a formal charge brought before a court against a person stating that he or she is guilty of some infraction, criminality, or other punishable offense. Any charges or accusations made by any member or directed toward another must be submitted in written form and addressed before the grand body. Now, I'm not a member of the Moorish Science Temple, but this doesn't look like a grand body, and I don't see any written documents in anyone's hands whatsoever. All right. This must be done by the accusing party and be done in the presence of the accused. This is justice, to assure that the accused has a just review and the fair opportunity to face and question the accuser. If the charge or accusation is proven to be invalid, the one making the accusation must make a public and written apology to the accused sister or brother. We are for peace. Therefore, the rights of all members must be preserved. If any sister or brother is put under any restriction or subjected to any form of discipline due to any charge or claim of violation, she or he shall have a fair and impartial trial. The accused may appeal the charge or allegation before the council and the people. An appeal is a resort or application to a higher authority as for sanction, corroboration, or a decision for a new hearing on a charge or matter previously litigated. If anyone is charged with a breach of the law, and such a breach requires expulsion from the grand body, then that member may reapply for membership within a 30-day period with a written document requesting readmission by self-reaffirming one's allegiance to the temple and the grand body. This will require a review by 2/3 vote by the grand body and the general membership. So I must ask, has this process been taken with Taj Tarik Bey? And if I've been incorrect in stating that Taj Tarik Bey is a member of the Moorish Science Temple of America, and he is no longer a member of the Moorish Science Temple of America, when he was a member of the Moorish Science Temple of America, he had these teachings going around. Was this process followed? Did Taj get a fair and impartial trial in front of a grand body? Or is this the grand body here? And where's the written complaint? Or is this the grand body here? Is that what this is? So this video is titled MSTA Issues Correction to Taj Tarik Bey. Right? But what is the MSTA issuing corrections for if they haven't even correctly followed the due process law? Huh? See, this is why I love Taj, because what he does is he puts information out there, allows you to study it, and allows you to be able to catch the bullshit. So if anybody can present the fact that Taj has been sat down and brought in front of the grand body and kicked out and had to be readmitted, and we would like to see this, because now, since you've been loud and you've corrected Taj, now you have to put out on the public record for us. Let's see where Taj has been actually corrected according to the laws, the bylaws of the Moorish Science Temple and the American Constitution, of which noble prophet Drew Ali told you to enforce. Let's go. I'm glad I waited to do this video. Let's go.
Let's take us to the information, because majority of us here are Moorish Americans and Prophet Noble Drew Ali. So when we start to quote information from the Prophet, it's not fair for the conversation to be one-sided. Where is what you are stating so that we can all follow along? Because it's not just a...
Where's what you're stating so we can all follow along? Hold on here. Let's see. Let's hear what Taj says.
All those statements, we're going to make reference. These are references.
Okay.
These are reference statements. Divine warning by the prophet for the nation. That would be the instrument. If I was talking to, say, your brother Amitu, you're from England, and you're interested in what's going on, but you don't have a background, and I'm going to give you reference where you can do some cross-reference. I send you to the Moorish Leaders Message to America, Moorish Historical Leaders Message to America. The prophet's divine warning to the nations, and emphasize plural nations. I will tell you to remove all biases, remove all opinions that you may have. Take each paragraph and break it down and make footnotes.
Now, wait a minute. We've already kind of done that a little bit, didn't we, Moors? Right? I was able to go into the divine warning by the prophet for the nations, as Todd said, and I was able to show how there is a relation to being a Moor, member of the Moorish Science Temple, and a Moor in America. Let me start off with one of them. The citizens of all free national governments, according to their national constitution, are all of one family bearing one free national name. Moorish American. That deals with being a Moor in America. I'm just going to stop.
In support of it, I would tell you to go look into congressional records, go look at House Joint Resolution journals, some of which...
Now look at this Moor's face. Look at his face. See, this guy, I'm sorry. He's the one that has the problem. This is the weirdo right here. I'm just going to say it. He's trying to make this face like Taj is a weirdo. Like, no, wait a minute. Let's go back to divine warning by the prophet. Because Taj is saying, go into congressional records, things of this nature. When the prophet says, and at that time, 1865, the free national constitutional law that was enforced since 1774 declared all men equal and free. If he's talking about constitutional law and the Constitution 1865, he's talking about congressional records as well. This is what's going on. So this dude sitting here looking like Taj is the weirdo, and he's really the weirdo. This is the weirdo right here. This is the whole thing. That's a problem. That's a problem. This is a problem, man. I cannot believe this. He's sitting here acting like Taj is wrong, and Noble Drew Ali is sitting here speaking on things relative to the congressional records that Taj is talking about now.
Because that's a scandal. Because you're part of this government that has been overthrown. You would not know it until you did research, because you would assume that the operatives that are operating as government is the government. They are not.
Okay, when was it overthrown? No, hold on. I want to stay focused on this.
1861 with the coup d'etat.
Okay, that's good. Okay, let's stick to this. Where does it say? You say Moorish historical leaders' message to America. What are you
in the literature?
From the, I got the literature. What are you quoting? It's in that body of information. And you got to understand that Prophet Noble Drew Ali did not necessarily put all of that together.
Exactly. Of course, Noble Drew Ali didn't put all that together. What did he say? The half has not been told. If I told you everything, something along the lines, you would fall back asleep. Of course, Noble Drew Ali didn't put all that together. That was left for the Moors to do. That was left for the Moors to do. That's crazy.
Understand that part. But when you go to say Prophet Noble Drew Ali said,
since you're saying that, tell us what part he didn't do.
No, I'm not trying to tell you what he did not do. I'm telling you to quote what you're saying that he did say.
All right, he established the Moorish Temple of Science as a civic organization, which means the study of government. It's 1925-26.
Yeah, 1926.
Yeah, 1926. And when you look at the authority that is used on the back of the questionnaire, it gives support to that. It gives support to that.
No, that don't give support to 1928.
No, it does give support to that.
In 1928.
Yeah, it does give support.
Yeah, in 1928. Not 26, and 28. But that's what it's called.
I didn't say the date. I said it gives support to that foundation.
Right. So he's saying that our authority that he put out in 26 was the supporting foundation for what was established in 1928. What's so hard to understand that? Just like the American Constitution 1791, 1776, whatever the case, was the foundation for the state's constitutions. See, so this is what I'm saying. See, this dude right here, if it was a debate, because this is a pseudo debate, what he's trying to do and trying to twist things up, Taj would run through dude like a Jesus Christ lizard in a puddle in the projects. Let me say that again, right? Taj would run through this dude like a Jesus Christ lizard in a puddle in the projects, through a puddle in the projects. Stop playing, man. I cannot believe this, man. It's crazy. Let's go.
Religious affidavit.
Yes, it still gives support to it. It still gives support to it. Because the concept that must be comprehended by Moors is that during that period of time, we were being infiltrated with COINTELPRO operations from Jordan and Now, in the COINTELPRO operations, which you will find in the congressional records and in the FBI papers, which is known loosely by Moors as the sellout. However, you can say it, I can say it, anybody can say it, but most of the Moors can't specifically, just like we're talking right now, give you details because they haven't been exposed to it. They just hear this stuff.
Can I say something really quick to that? Right? Because people do say, oh yeah, well the Moors are sold out, or the Moorish side civil America was infiltrated, blah, 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 blah. But no one to date has been able to give evidence to that. So, that being the case, is it responsible to say such a thing?
We're going to stop it right there. Either he's misinformed, either this brother right here is misinformed, or he's lying. because now he's trying to say Taj has been irresponsible by saying that the Moorish Science Temple has been infiltrated, but not giving a source or proof of that. Let me take you to exhibit. Let me take you over here to this exhibit right here. All right. Now, these are the FBI files that that Taj Tarik Bey was speaking about. These are the FBI files right here, speaking to the infiltration of the Moorish Divine National Movement. Excuse me. Right. And the website that we got this on, all right, is Vault. V as in Victor, A as in Apple, U as in Unicorn, L as in Love, T as in Truth, dot FBI, Frank Brian Ingrid, dot gov, George Orion Victor, right? So vault.fbi.gov/ Moorish space science space temple space of space America / America. Okay, so Moorish, or the link is on the screen. Forget it. The link is on the damn screen. Or it's in the description. But you can find this on the FBI website. All right, so you can Google it. You can actually Google it. But we're going to go here. All right. So he said, the brother said here, let's bring him up.
Can I say something really quick to that? Right? Because people do say, oh yeah, well the Moors are sold out, or the Moorish side of America was infiltrated, blah, 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 blah. But no one today has been able to give evidence of that. So, that being the case, is it responsible to say such a thing?
I just want to put this on the public record that Taj Tarik Bey is the one who made me aware of the FBI files through coming across myriads of hours of his lectures and teachings and information that he was putting out. So I went looking. Now, this is the FBI files here, right? It says at Hartford, Connecticut. It says here, the information contained in this matter was obtained from a confidential informant in Hartford, Connecticut, whose name is being forwarded to the Bureau under separate cover. Now, in order for you to have a confidential informant, guys, it's common sense. That means that there has to be someone on the inside. All right. And before I go further, let me make sure you guys see what we're dealing with here. All right. Federal Bureau of Investigation, Moorish Science Temple of America, Noble Drew Ali. All right. Look where we're at. FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation. This is the FBI's website. Okay. FBI's website. All right. So this PDF comes from here. It says informant advised that a Negro individual known as, you see this? Look at this. A Negro individual known as Grand Sheik Blank, who resides in Brooklyn, New York, came to Hartford, Connecticut in the summer of 1936 and established local chapter number 35, the Moorish Science Temple of America, Incorporated, which organization he believes is one that was originally founded by His Excellency Colonel, this looks like Kirkman Bey. So C. Kirkman Bey, I believe that is Colonel, I want to say that's Kirkman Bey of Chicago, Illinois. I could be incorrect. All right. So let's go on here. It says the informant further advised that the organization was believed founded for the purpose of uplifting the lot of the poor Negro in the United States. He stated further that this organization claims to have over 8 million members at the present time throughout the United States. Informant stated that the reason he thought this matter would be of interest to the Federal Bureau of Investigation was the fact that on several occasions, Members of the Japanese Chamber of Commerce were reported to have spoken at meetings held by the Hartford chapter, and that, therefore, there was the possibility the Japanese government might be spreading propaganda at these meetings. Informant advised that he has a Negro informant who attends the meetings held and who has given him information about about what transpired at the various meetings. He informed that the organization has not been very active recently, and the summer of 1939 was the last time the Japanese officials spoke at the Hartford meetings. Let me see. He stated that in the event he receives further information about the activities of this organization, he will immediately notify the writer. Informant furnished the writer a photo of the cover of the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, and also photos of 3 inside pages of this same book. In addition to this, the informant furnished the writer rough draft proofs of 6 short articles he had prepared for possible publication in a Hartford newspaper. Photostatic copies were made of the above material, and one set of these photostats are being forwarded to the Bureau, and another is being retained in the New York file on this matter. The originals of the above were returned to the informant. No further investigation will be conducted on this matter by the New York division unless the Bureau directs the Chicago division or directs in contrary. So, close. Let me see here. So, this is just a little bit of this documentation to show that there were people who were members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, right, who were reporting information back to the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Now, what we're going to hear when I bring this video back up is that COINTELPRO didn't exist in the 1930s and 40s. And I dare to say that it did. The only thing is, it just didn't exist in that name. It did not exist in that name, but the practices have always been there. Just like they say, the Negro Black codes are off the books. But guess what? The practices are still there. So even though the name may not be there, the practice is still there. It's just as simple as that. So by me saying that, I'm saying that the practices of COINTELPRO, the foundations of what became to be known as, or what came to be known as COINTELPRO, those techniques and tactics were being utilized on the Moorish Science Temple in the 30s. Simple as that. Simple as that. Let's go. Let's bring this back up here.
Is it responsible to say that the Moorish Science Temple of America was infiltrated without providing responsible information to the positive to support that statement? Now watch. COINTELPRO didn't start, as per J. Edgar Hoover's own words, until the 60s. Not in the 20s or the 30s. Didn't start until the 60s.
That they admit to.
Yes.
Hold on, all we're going to do is this, because we're going to take a long time, because we know why we're here today, based upon the walk back in history, the historical event of how to make it. Hold on, sir. So I'm just here to give some clarity as we move forward down the road, down the hallway to this. We have local people that contact, I would imagine, a number of grantees about information that has been released on YouTube, on Facebook, etc., blending Moorish information with that of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Prophet Noble Drali wanted the information. Everybody in the organization does not have to be a historian. They don't have to know a lot of legalese, because why? The Moorish Science Temple of America is founded with our Mr. Father Mary. You have some of everybody, some of the Prophet Noble Drali, in the magistrate subject, the sons of men that equal the free slave and sit as they rule over themselves, not for themselves, but these Gentiles given, not meant for thou, but for the good of thy kingdom. He look among his people with discernment. He discovers the abilities of men and employs them according to their merit. So everybody does not do the same thing. Everybody just doesn't do that. So now we have history, we have people thinking that they have to be divorced from government, that they don't need to be a part of the current government, filing documents in the body of the government. When the prophet said this, people charging for membership.
Stop that there. So it's saying Moors are thinking they have to file things on the public record in the government, separating themselves from this current government, right? Here we have the state records of South Carolina. This is the Journals of the House of Representatives, 1789-70 to 1790. Michael E. Stevens, editor. Christine M. Allen, assistant editor, published for the South Carolina Department of Archives and History by the University of South Carolina Press, Columbia, South Carolina 8557, copyright A, 1984 by South Carolina Department of Archives. So it says here, manufactured United States of America, January 20th, 1790, page 363, continued from previous page. Thereto, our committee are Mr. Rutledge, Major Pickney, and Mr. Dees. House Journal 4, January 1790, 20 January 1790. Says here, a petition was presented to the House from sundry free Moors, subjects of the Emperor of Morocco, and residents in this state, praying that in case they should commit any fault amendable to be brought to justice, that they, as subjects to a prince in alliance with the United States of America, may be tried under the same laws as the citizens of this state would be liable to be tried, and not under the Negro Act, which was received and read. The humble petition of Francis, Daniel, Hammond, Samuel, free Moors, in behalf of themselves and their wives, Fatima, Flora, Sarah, and Clorinda, humbly sheweth that your petitioners some years past had the misfortune, while fighting in the defense of their country, to be captured with their wives and made prisoners of war by one of the kings of Africa, that a certain Captain Clark had them delivered to him on a promise that they should be redeemed by the Emperor of Morocco, of the Moroccan ambassador then residing in England, in order to have them returned to their own country, instead of which he brought them to this state and sold them for slaves. Since that period, they have by the greatest industry been enabled to purchase their freedom from their respective masters, and now prayeth your honorable house. So basically what happens is these Moors filed paperwork on the government, in the government, on the public record, to separate themselves from the color of law that was being enforced on those who were branded as Negroes. So Moors have been filing things on the record to make sure they are not subject to anything that is untoward to constitutional law, treaties, things of that nature. Moors have been doing this. All right. It has to be done so that you can do away with presumption, because it seems like for some reason there's Moors out there that think like these Europeans in power today are they're different, or they're not enforcing the same fraudulent things that were enforced on us before. Noble Drew Ali is aware of color of law. He was aware of color of law. He specifically said there was no need for the 14th and 15th Amendment. Yet when you look at the 14th Amendment, you see that it converts flesh and blood men and women into artificial persons who do not have the same rights as flesh and blood men and women. So color of law is being enforced. Color of authority is being enforced. Now, what happens is these grand sheiks, or at least this one specific grand sheik in the Midwest, is complaining more or less about Moors being thrown up under the bus with this sovereign citizen stuff. And I, as a Moor, would be as well too. I am. It doesn't make any sense because in my experience, the real sovereign citizens have been the Europeans who have killed police, shot police, flown planes into IRS buildings when the IRS has, garnished wages and things of this nature, right? Having whole compounds armed to the teeth. Those were Europeans. But all of a sudden, they've been allowed to fall back, still do what they do their sovereign citizen thing. But now they want to make Moors the face of this sovereign citizen stuff. Just like they want to make Moors the face of the Me Too boogeyman. This is what these people do. These are what these Europeans do. They take your national descent name and your customs and your ways, your language, your religion, your everything, your culture, and force theirs upon you and call you something else. I don't see how Moors act like these Europeans in power today doing what they're doing are so righteous. All of a sudden, things are is the way that it's supposed to be, lawfully, constitutional. Now, the Grand Sheikh said there's a difference between being a Moor in the Moor Science Temple of America and being a Moor in America. And we've really proven that to be incorrect. But what we're going to do here real fast is we're going to bring up Moorish proclamation that was put on the public record by Rahm Emanuel, who used to work in the administration under Barack Hussein Obama. He used to be the mayor of Chicago, no longer the mayor of Chicago, right? Let's see what he says about sovereign stuff, okay? Whereas the Moorish Americans are descendants of the ancient Moabites, Hammatites, and Canaanites who were permitted by the old pharaohs of Kemet to traverse from East Africa and later formed themselves kingdoms extending from northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa, the Atlantic islands, onto the present-day continental Americas. All right? So it says here, whereas the Moorish Americans are descendants of the ancient Moabites, Hammatites, and Canaanites who were permitted by the old pharaohs of Kemet to traverse from East Africa and later formed themselves kingdoms extending from the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa, the Atlantic islands, onto the present-day continental America, and whereas the indigenous Moorish peoples of Americas are now united in order to again link themselves with the family of nations, and whereas the Moorish Americans, being aboriginal to the territories of North, Central, and South Americas, have formed a sovereign theocratic government guided by the command principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice through virtue of the universal right to self-determination, as well as the Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples guaranteed in the Charter. Now, a lot of these Grand Sheiks, when documents like this were being placed on the public record, these proclamations similar to this were being placed on the public record all across so-called United States, all across northwest of Mexico, right? These same Grand Sheiks celebrated these things, right? They celebrated these proclamations being put out, but due to their incompetence, they never moved forward on exercising what these people were telling them that they already recognized due to what Noble Drew Ali had already put down. What is it saying that they recognize? That they had nationality, Moabites, Hammatites, Canaanites, came here from East Africa, later formed themselves kingdoms extending from northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa, the Atlantic islands, onto the present-day continental Americas, right? They are an indigenous peoples of the Americas, right? Aboriginal to the territories of North, South, Central Americas. Now, we're going to go into Moorish Holy Quran, Circle 7, right? Chapter 47, Egypt, the capital empire of the Dominion of Africa. It says here, The inhabitants of Africa are the descendants of the ancient Canaanites from the land of Africa, land of Canaan. Old man Cush and his family are the first inhabitants of Africa who came from the land of Canaan. His father Ham and his family were second. Then came the word Ethiopia, which means the demarcation line of the dominion of Amexem, the first true and divine name of Africa, the dividing of the land between the Father and the Son. The dominion of Cush, northeast and southeast Africa, and northwest and southwest was his father's dominion. See, this is touching in with this first paragraph of this proclamation, was his father's dominion of Africa. In later years, many of their brethren from Asia and the Holy Lands joined them. The Moabites from the land of Moab, who received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle and inhabit northwest Africa, they were the founders and are the true possessors of the present Moroccan Empire with their Canaanite, Hittite, and Amorite brethren who sojourned from the land of Canaan seeking new homes. Their dominion and inhabitation extended from northeast and southwest Africa across Great Atlantis even into the present North, South, and Central America, and also Mexico and the Atlantis Islands before the great earthquake which caused the Great Atlantic Ocean. And this is in the Circle 7, which is for the Moorish Science Temple of America, which goes to show you that this has everything to do with being a Moor in America on the organic land, North America, or should I say Northwest of Mexico. So let's go back to this proclamation. So this proclamation here is giving credence to chapter 47 of the Moorish Holy Quran, Circle 7, right? Which is religious book of Moors, protected under what? First Amendment, which deals with what? Being a Moor in America. All right. So the Moors, it's been recognized that the Moors have formed a sovereign theocratic government. That's totally different from being a sovereign citizen. Okay. Moors is, it really speaks for itself. Moorish sovereignty is different from being a sovereign citizen. It's just as simple as that. So Moors are actually trying to oil the wheels of their government, and you have Moors who are sitting asleep, and I have to say this, I don't want to say asleep, but are sitting on their hands playing church. Yeah, playing church. Playing church. You're not as helping get your government running. Do you know that so people are actually out here doing work for the government, sovereign theocratic government, and then other people are just playing church at the end of the day. Period. Let's bring this video up and keep going.
Membership in the Moorish Science of America is free. Free. Let that be known. It's free. It's free. Now, if somebody has some information they want to share to help people in other areas, it's free, and you can just give them some reference points to go to. They ain't to be charged for nothing. They out here, they getting in trouble with the policy enforcers, and nobody is there to come to their aid.
So wait a minute. So you mean to tell me that this Grand Sheik knows that these police out here are policy enforcers and not law enforcement? So he knows they're enforcing policy, but not enforcing law. He says, give them reference points. That's all he's been doing. That's all Taj has been doing since he's been sitting at this table, giving reference points. Since I've been hip to Taj, that's always what Taj has said, is always giving reference points, always told you what to study, always told you where you go to look so you can clarify this yourself. But always said to make sure that you study before you go out here and start doing any of these things. Because this excuse about nobody being there for you when you're enforcing the Constitution and these colonial officers are still doing colonial things, Roman centurion ass things, they're still doing that. You don't need nobody to come and get you. You don't need nobody to come to your aid, do you? I mean, it would be great. But I don't hear anybody complaining about somebody coming to their aid when they get caught selling drugs, or they didn't get caught in a shootout, or they get caught in a fight and they beat somebody up. Nobody says that. Well, all of a sudden, when you're enforcing the Constitution, somebody is supposed to come to your aid, and if they don't, then there's a problem. Do they hold martial arts teachers to those standards? Do they? I need to know. Do they hold martial arts teachers to those standards? You're sitting here taking this class. You go out here and get your ass kicked. You've gotten in trouble by getting your ass kicked. You got this martial arts information from this martial arts teacher who's been teaching you. He didn't come to save you. Same thing with the baseball coach. Been practicing baseball with the baseball coach. You go play baseball somewhere else. You lose. Bad. Right? Is it the baseball coach's fault? Even though he's giving you information and pointers and things to study, he's giving you information and references and all this and told you that make sure that you practice this thoroughly before you try this pitch, or you try to swing the bat this way, or you try to slide in the base that way. But for some reason, it comes back to the coach. Do you see this? See, this is all about not having responsibility is what this is about at the end of the day. This is about not having responsibility, because Taj does not tell you to go out there and perform any process specific. Never heard it. The last 12, 13 years, I've never heard it at all. I've never heard him tell you a process to go do. I've never heard it. Now, Moore's got an issue with filing paperwork on the record. How many members of the Moorish Science Temple have to die still going on the public record as Negroes on their death certificates? See, because if y'all was filing stuff on the public record, then Moors would not still be dying as Negroes on the public record. Noble Drew Ali wouldn't have went into the grave as a Negro or a black man on the public record if y'all was filing paperwork. Doing away, killing the presumption, the assumption of you being a Negro. How many Moors are in the grave right now, probably tossing and turning in the spirit world, not fully able to rest because y'all allowed them to go into the grave as Negroes, blacks, and colors, and got the nerve to talk about filing paperwork. How many members of the Moorish Science Temple have had their houses taken due to foreclosure for taxes? Ain't the temple supposed to be buying them? Ain't they supposed to be purchasing their home through the temple? Don't these Moors come to the temple and say, yeah, me and the wife is getting ready to purchase a house? The Grand Sheikh pull them to the side and say, hey, you can go ahead and purchase this house through the temple, and we can do away with all those property taxes. How many Moors are members of the Moorish Science Temple that lost their houses to mortgages and property taxes? Really, property taxes. How many Moors are out here paying crazy taxes on the automobiles that they're paying monthly payments for? Ain't the temple supposed to be getting that? Ain't the temple supposed to be buying these Moorish studio equipment? Ain't the temple supposed to be buying these babies clothes when they go to school? Because we're being taxed to death. What do I know? You know, I'm just a rogue Moor out here. Let's go.
For the record, be straight on this day. On this is the walk back in history. On this day, the
Look.
Temple of America is in line with what the Prophet Noah drew.
I'm going to ask him which Moorish Science Temple of America is in line. You see, this is clown sauce to me. Y'all can get mad if y'all want. I don't care. Okay. Which grand body is in a line with the prophet? Let's keep it real. See, let's keep it real. Which grand body is in a line with the prophet? Which grand body copyrighted the sign symbols in the books and the literature? right? I want to know. It's supposed to be one grand body, right? So which one of you are in alignment with the prophet? And if you are, why is it so many grand bodies? It's in the public domain. Then why has it been copywritten? I wish I had my orientation paper from when I went to the Moorish Science Temple of America, because I keep all of that stuff. I just don't have it readily available. But they copyright this. Ain't no public domain. It's copywritten. You could be sued. You could be sued for dealing with certain things with the Moorish Science Temple of America. It's not public domain, because anything on the public domain means I could grab it. I'm not saying this is what I want to do. I could grab it. I could sell it, not worry about any repercussion. Take my name on it, put my name on. Not saying that's anything that I want to do or will do, but is what I'm saying. If it was on public domain, really, people take songs that are on public domain and re-put them out and then sell millions of copies and get rich, one-hit wonders, things of this nature. I'm a little confused. Actually, no, I'm not. You see, act like he's checking Taj. That's what that was. He want to act like he's checking Taj.
Brother, let me ask you a question. You mentioned earlier that the government was overthrown in 1861, spring of 1861, right? Here's my question to you. Well, let's presume for argument's sake that happened. The prophet began his mission in 1913, and then in culminating and peaking in 1928. 1928 was an election year. The prophet began a voter registration drive of 3,000 plus Moors, right? They voted at the national, state, and local level. My question to you is, were they voting for members of what the so-called republic or the so-called democracy? That's my question. How, when you said the government was overthrown in 1861, was it restored again in 1928?
Not what I said. Not what I said. Now do this research for yourself, all of you. March 27, 1861, the Congress for the United States adjourned sine die
Without that.
What it really was a coup d'etat. They got rid of Abraham Lincoln. The manumission is not a liberation of the people, but the transference of the people from different European families to the order of the Congress. The members of the Circle Church in the Chancery on Fleet Street, England, which is that second star that you see. Washington, D.C., you see them three stars. The first star is the Vatican. The second star is London, specifically Westminster. The Circle Church in the Chancery, i.e. the crown. We ain't just talking the Queen of England, that's the crown. The third star, in honor of the Roman goddess Columbia, is where we just passed Pennsylvania House. That is called Independence Hall. And Independence Hall, that's Pennsylvania House. And you see that plaque that's on that ground that we walked on, that we were standing on? They transferred the government there, and they converted the republic into the democracy order and didn't tell the public. And they maintained the seats. So they maintained the authority of the republic while actually not being in honor of the republic. When they actually set up a secret kingship oligarchy. Now, about a 10-year span, on 1871, February the 2nd, they officially came out of the closet. And although they still didn't make it public, but you will find it's all on the congressional record. It's not me. That's the record. That's the record. You know,
you see how he broke that down? Noble Drew Ali, no matter what these Europeans did, Noble Drew Ali was keeping it de jure and lawful. It's just as simple as that. It's just as simple as that. That's how you know the republic was overthrown, dodo bird. Article 4, Section 2. The citizens of each state shall be entitled... Oh, hold on, that's wrong. Article 4, Section 4, American Constitution. The United States shall guarantee to every state in this union a republican form of government. Then you have the Pledge of Allegiance. And to the republic for which it stands. Democracy is the exact polar opposite of what a republic is. The republic, the authority is the people. We the people. The democracy, the masters are those who are the servants. And it doesn't make any sense whatsoever at all. All right. Now, Taj Tarik Bey has put out enough information. There's also the military manual, and it also tells you where they even say that democracy is a mob form of government, mob rule. It goes on to also say that the United States is a republic and not a democracy. You cannot find the word democracy in any lawful de jure constitutional document. Articles of Association, Articles of Confederation, United States Constitution, Constitution for the United States of America, the Republic, should I say. I mean, it's not there. It's obvious. The lawful form of government is a republican form of government. It's as simple as that. So I would say this. Even if the prophet voted for the democracy, even if that was the case, we have to say this. The prophet was a man. And in any readings that I've read about any prophets, especially from the line of true and divine prophets, they were never perfect, period. So I am not about to sit here and play this personality worship game and may like Noble Drew Ali did not have any imperfections, because he already said we are truth and falsehood strangely mixed, period. Which means Noble Drew Ali himself knew that he had flaws. King David had flaws. Solomon had flaws. Noah had flaws. Moses had flaws. Not even about to play this game. See, because y'all want to sit here and make like the prophet was perfect. And I just don't agree with that. And I don't believe that. No disrespect. Truth and falsehood strangely mixed. That's just what we are in this flesh. Period. Simple as that. Now, I won't deny that maybe the prophet was tapping some different frequencies that allowed him to do certain things and, bring certain things into fruition that other men could not and would not be able to do. But he still was truth and falsehood strangely mixed. And that's what it is. So as you can see, Taj Tarik Bey is being admired. Dudes that have a lot to say about Taj on the internet, but they be all in his face.
When the Red House fell, January 1st, near midnight, 1492, which is what this celebration here is called, the Mummers Parade. And they are sitting at 6 in Moore Street, and they walked west, Horace Greeley. So you got to know the history of the Whig Party, the Science Moors and the Cotton, the Science Whigs and the Cotton Whigs. So did those Moors, they voted? The Whig or Moor Party. Okay. You got to know the politics. In the 1920s, those Moors, did they vote for a de facto government? Hold on. Without knowing. We have to take this outside. We have to take this outside. But remember, I want to make sure that we stay on the topic.
Without knowing.
Who did the prophet have the Moors voting for in 1928?
All right. So that's the end of that. Again, in my honest opinion, I felt like this was a chance to try to put Taj on the hot seat. All right. Try to put him out to the public to make it seem like, honestly, this was a act for the European colonization powers out there. This is what it was for. And I have to let y'all know, this is that Well, that's them Moors. That ain't us Moors. This is what that is. This had to be put on the public record to appease the European colonizers out there that are still carrying out Roman expansion enterprises. Roman enterprises right now in these dominions as spoken of in chapter 47 of the Moorish Holy Quran, Circle 7, and in this Moorish proclamation. These dominions where Moors are aboriginal and indigenous, where they have a sovereign theocratic government that it seems people who are leaders within the Moorish movement are refusing to oil that wheel and get the ball rolling. Again, I ask, why did it take 100 years for me and hundreds and thousands of other Moors to hear about Noble Drew Ali? Why has the Negro issue still been going on and the Moorish Science Temple is not speaking to that? You notice, Taj Tarik Bey is not shooting so-called Negro, blacks, coloreds, and African Americans. It's the European colonizers, Roman centurion, police, policy enforcers that are doing it. And these Moors that are having an issue with Taj, they don't like what these police are doing to Moors out here. But they're not speaking to that. Why? Because of their 501c3 does not allow them to speak to the plight of the Moors. So they're so bothered by what Taj is doing, yet they will not address the issue of us being murdered out here on these streets, not telling our people who identify with being Negro, black, and colored that they are being treated as undesirables because they do not have a national descent name which attaches them to the human family and makes them subject to the treatments that the true citizens want to lay upon them. Start looking at these major cities where the police are killing our people at. Why are there no Moors from these Moorish science temples coming out to speak in the public, to make us aware of what the issues is, why our plights exist, what our status is at law under the 14th Amendment? Why? I say again, because their 501c3 will not allow them to address the social and political issues of the so-called Negro, black, colored, African American minority, whatever you want to call it today, without them losing that 501c3 tax exemption. Taj was socially ambushed. That's my opinion. Look at these faces that these Moors were making looking at the cameras when he was speaking. Look at the faces they were making. If y'all really feel that y'all are that armed and y'all want to go toe to toe to get this, I think Taj really just needs to go ahead and go and chop these Grand Sheiks' heads off scholastically, scholarly, right? And go ahead and lay it all on the table and just shut them up, because they ain't put in no work. I haven't seen anything, period. I have to speak on this right here. Because you can't be on social media speaking ill of Taj Tarik Bey, all in his face with a camera, patting him on the back like you fuck with him like that. This is fucking church. This is what they do. They talk about you, pat you on the back, smile in your face, make faces about you while you're sitting there. And see, what y'all have to comprehend is that don't make Taj feel good. That don't make Taj feel good at all. Honors to Taj for standing the way that he did, keeping his composure. This right here, this was a show put on for the European. This was a show put on for the colonizer to say that's them Moors, not us. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. Share and subscribe to Drew the Sun. Put it out there, TV. Go ahead and get out of here. Peace and love. Islam to Taj Tarik Bey. Appreciate everything that you've been doing, Elder. And if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be able to see the bullshit that these leaders in the Moorish movement are sprinkling sugar on and trying to call pancakes. I'm up out of here.